We good? Alright, whatever. Oftentimes I worry about how I look in these videos, and I realise that more people see me outside in the real world every day than the people who will see this video. So that's not too bad, is it? And I mean that in a good way. I don't know. As I've said in a previous episode, I'm trying not to be focused on how many views and how many people are seeing this, even though everybody's support is much appreciated. It's more just for the love of it and for the enjoyment, you know. I feel like if you get focused on the result of what you're doing rather than the process, then you lose sight of what's real, what's important, you know. But yeah, so welcome to what I believe is the 18th episode of Season 2 of the Decompression Chamber. And I'm going to start with a quote from Neil Gaiman, who is a writer. And he said, "I do not miss childhood, but I miss the way I took pleasure in small things, even as greater things crumbled. I could not control the world I was in, could not walk away from things or people or moments that hurt, but I took joy in the things that made me happy." Roll the intro.
Wanted to meet and my steamer's broke. Fuck the bleach, I'm peak of the soul. Peace never know what's about to occur, but my zen.
Yeah, so the basis of this show, really, the foundation of the feeling that inspired this show and this podcast is the kind of fear that so much of my life I've already forgotten, and none of that I can revisit in a real kind of personal way. Well, I can in a personal way, but not in like a direct experience. It's just memory, you know. It's what's stored up in here, and the stories that we tell one another, and the small glimpses of my past that I can really access, you know. For example, one of my earliest memories is in a cafe in Bristol, at the main road next to our old house, and I remember I say that I remember, but I feel like I'm remembering, you know, remembering so many times now that it feels distant. But according to this memory, I was on my grandfather Ito's lap, and he opened the like sugar satchel to his coffee, and he kind of held my face, and he tilted my chin back, and he poured the sugar down in my mouth, and he was like, I just remember feeling like comfortable and feeling like happy, you know, and that's one of my earliest memories. I've got some early memories from primary school, one of which being when I burnt my leg with hot coffee, and I'm more than anything, I remember crying in the front seat on the frantic drive to the hospital, and even in the kind of slight delirium of extreme pain for a kid at that age, I remember thinking, damn, it's pretty cool that I get to sit in the front seat, you know. I wonder what that says about me. But yeah, I just recently I've been thinking about memories, you know, thinking about I'm always thinking about I'm always thinking about my thoughts, but yeah, for some reason recently I've just been thinking about the past, you know. I'm lucky that a lot of those memories are good ones, that not many of the bad ones really stick, and even if there are bad memories, normally they're there because you got to learn something from them, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's just weird to think, you know, that I'll never be a child again, that I'm 20 and I'm soon to be 21, and that'll be a tenth of the way through my 20s, just in that last year. It's just zipped right by, you know. And I think it's just scary to me, the progression of life. It you know, I'm thinking about, as I mentioned in previous episodes, I'm thinking about what life's going to be like for me after university, and I guess to a certain extent I've grown used to the fact that throughout all of my life there's been this kind of structure, you know, despite me rallying against how fucking jarring education is and how so much of it needs to be changed and remodeled to help people. But the reality is it feels like a safe shelter, you know. Even when I was in my gap year, I kind of knew, like, alright, well, at least after this, I still know that those 3 years ahead of me I've got figured out. Whereas, you know, now being 2/3 of the way through those uni years and looking forward, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. And you know, you can take that as a negative, but you can also look at that as a positive. I mean, part of the reason I got into this whole filmmaking biz is because I didn't want to have it all figured out. I didn't want to just sit behind an office job. I didn't want to sit in a job, no matter if it was an office job or, you know, whatever kind of job, and have that until I was 60, you know, and just wait for retirement. One of the benefits of being a filmmaker is that you never have to retire. You can be a filmmaker until life stops you from being one, you know. And I feel reasonably confident that in some way or another I'm going to make films until I die. It's just, I guess it's just part of me now. Or I'm part of it, you know. Filmmaking is a much bigger thing than I'll ever be. You know, and I feel lucky because to a certain extent I already feel like I've made it. Not in like the made it sense of like money or fame or huge overwhelming capital. It's just I'm pursuing what I enjoy. I'm trying to reach my artistic fulfillment. I'm developing the way I communicate with people and communicate with audiences, and improving my storytelling abilities and expanding my reach, and just kind of like learning new things about myself. I think to that extent I've made it, you know. That's not a lot of those kind of dimensions are going to be different for me. I'm always going to be searching for artistic fulfillment. I'm always going to be trying to improve my storytelling. I'm always going to try and connect with audiences, and I'm always going to try and learn new things about myself. So in terms of like what goals you might need to achieve, I feel like I've already achieved them. And so the question is, how do I kind of keep those rolling forward? Or how can I recontextualize or repurpose those goals to kind of give myself purpose moving forward? There you go. I guess that's a little bit of a recurring theme right now. I've just been thinking about how I'm going to move forward. A lot of the time I feel like I just kind of allow myself to sit still, or like just let the moment pass me, whereas now I feel like I want to take the opportunities I've got and kind of make the most of them, you know. But yeah, I mean, something I wanted to talk about this episode was the most recent filmmaking experience of mine, which was a big joint experience. Earlier this week, we kind of got given a brief. Well, it wasn't a brief per se, it was kind of like a warning, as it were. Our lead lecturer, Kieran, who I have a lot of respect for, he offered up this thing that Bournemouth University are doing. For context, I study here in Salisbury, but the course I'm doing is authenticated by Bournemouth, so technically I'm a Bournemouth student. It's a big old thing, but in any case, Bournemouth University, like media and communications, media and production, something like that. The whole department, so photography, cinematography, directing, screenwriting, film and TV, all of these types of courses under the Bournemouth kind of university umbrella. They were having a 48-hour filmmaking challenge, you know. So they kind of warned us the day before, but at 7 a.m. they gave us a brief, and the brief was that the film had to be 3 minutes long. It had to contain an umbrella as a prop, have the line of dialogue, get out and don't come back, and what else was it? And needed to contain the action of somebody styling their hair. And so the morning of, I wake up at 7, my sleep pattern's fucked, so I really get up at 7:30, and me and Sam sit in the mezzanine in our halls and just come up for like 2-3 hours. We're just like brainstorming, we're coming up with ideas, thinking of visual stuff we could do with an umbrella, or like any of these aspects of storytelling. And realistically, a lot of it was just kind of like a cycle of just like, this would be cool, this would be cool, this would be cool. And we had like 3 different mind maps, and I really like working with Sam because he's just got a lot of good ideas, and he's kind of fun to discuss this stuff about with. And really, we didn't really get anywhere, and this is why I respect Sam so much as a filmmaker. He said, alright, let's wheel this back, let's start with a character, because all stories is told through characters, you know. And so we set on making a character, you know, giving it motivations or reasons why the character was doing what they were doing, and that allowed us to kind of plan out a simple story. And so for context, I probably should have set this up. I directed the film. Sam was director of photography and DP, and you know, we got a bunch of our peers and our friends to be part of the crew, and they were a great help, and I feel like we worked together really well. But the whole time I felt out of my depth. The whole time I really felt like I didn't know what I was doing. And my last episode I was talking about carrying through with confidence and, you know, trying to meet stuff head on. And in reality I was just kind of like in the field, just like, oof, I don't know. And truthfully, Sam was such a good person to be able to rely on. He was just dependable. He had a lot of ideas, and the reason why I had to rely on him, I feel like it was because I directed, but also I starred as the main character, which was new for me. There's only one other short film I can remember starring in, which was with a friend in secondary school. But this was like, you know, the first time I'd ever done anything that felt serious or whatever, and that was difficult. I'm not a good actor. I've never trained to be a good actor. I haven't done acting since year 9 drama, so what, nigh on 7 years now, and this experience makes me think that maybe I need to kind of figure some of that out. Maybe need to try some, not necessarily to pursue acting as a kind of bigger thing, but just for me as a director to understand actors more. I feel like just in that short time I gain a new appreciation for what actors put themselves through, and how difficult it is to really connect with a character that doesn't exist and to create a character that doesn't exist. You know, something our lecturers tell us about is the fact that you write this stuff on a page, but that's not when the character's made. The character's made when the actor steps into the role and they really bring them to life. And to a certain extent, as filmmakers, you just have to capture them in their best light. You have to allow them to tell the story, and you have to kind of cultivate the story through them. Because realistically, characters are who we connect to and how we feel connected to a story. And so luckily my face is all covered up in bandages and there's no dialogue, so it wasn't that bad in that sense. But some of it happened in public and I was covered in bandages, so people were staring at me, you know, there's cameras and a boom mic, so everybody's kind of like looking at like, what's going on with these guys? And yeah, so that was just kind of a bit of a weird experience. But Sam was so dependable because so many, like, the story was all chucked together. We were thinking up what was happening in a scene between shots, not even like before, and sometimes just as we were walking to location. And continuity was a mess, and we didn't know how it was going to cut together. And truthfully, I think it's miraculous that it came together as well as it did. And I would give all credit, well, not all credit, but as much credit as possible, to Sam, who was such a dependable DP, but also took on some of the directorial and writing responsibilities, but also just the crew in general, the people involved, and you know, I think, for example, the people in post-production involved really elevated it to be what it is. I think if you saw the rough cut before kind of stuff came together, you would think this is a poor assembly of some nice looking shots, but in reality I think what we made is worthy of pride. You know, it's quite cool. And so we get this brief at 7 a.m. we must have been brainstorming. I guess we get a script by like midday, half 12, and then at 2 p.m. we book out equipment. By like 4:30 we're at the Chalk Cliffs, which is a location, kind of a big, well, it's a chalk cliff in Salisbury, which is like the cool thing. But so we lug all the equipment up the hill, and we get to the top, and we're kind of looking around, setting up the first shot, and somebody goes, does anybody know where the lens box is? And as I'm sure you can imagine, a camera without a lens is a little bit difficult to film with. And, you know, mentally I'm just like, oh, fuck, we fucked this. This is in the bin now. This is in the bin. But luckily, Denzel, who's like who's the guy who manages the booking of equipment on our course, who is such a legend and such a quality staff member, he just took it on stride, and we whipped back, well, TJ, one of the crew members, whipped back and brought back the lenses, and we were like, okay, we have lenses, we have a camera, we can film stuff. And we ended up having a bunch of fun. I mean, for reasons you'll see, I did some shit that I never would have expected myself to have done. We managed to include some drone footage, which was cool, because I know that Harv's been hoping to use drone footage for that stuff. And I think he's real cool. What else? But yeah, so that was kind of the first filming day, and at the end I was like, oh. And so we get the footage back at the end of the day, and the people in post, were just Harv and Scar, who are editing, they start to put it together and stuff, and I just told them straight up, I said, because normally when I'm as a director, I really like to be really involved with the cut. I think that I'm not very good at the clicking and dragging of editing, like particularly with Premiere Pro, but I do genuinely think that I'm good at editing in the sense of like knowing when to cut. You know, sometimes I'll be watching something, you know, the 16mm short film, the romance film that I directed, Equinox, which I should put up on YouTube as well. I edited myself with no assistance, which was kind of dumb. But in any case, I didn't do the sound mix or the color grade. Don't get me wrong, but I did the cutting, and I just think that when you're watching material, you kind of just get this sense of when it should cut. It's like a rhythmic thing. And I experienced that when I was in the edit with Harvey for this one, where we were just kind of watching when the title comes in, and I didn't want it to fade in, I wanted to just kind of cut in, just bang, be on the screen, and we were watching it, and you just kind of had this instance where he did it himself, he said boom, like when you wanted to just boom, come on the screen, and yeah, I think that that's something that you don't, it's not like a particular logic or reason to doing, it's something that feels right, you know. And I guess I would walk that all the way back to when I did a documentary on trolleys, which is on this channel. One of my best pieces of work, really, and I edited that myself. I pretty much did the whole thing myself. And yeah, sometimes the feeling of when to cut, you just have to trust yourself, or you know, trust yourself with verification from another, such as Harp. And so I kind of keep jumping back and forth. But in any case, so at the end of that first day, I just said, you know what, I do want to be involved in the edit, but I've spent too much time thinking about this today. I've put myself through stress. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I just need to rest and relax. And in the end, I didn't do much resting. I didn't do much relaxing. I was stressing. And the next day, I said, we wake up early. We start at 8, which, don't get me wrong, not the earliest cool times that have been seen in the film industry. Far from it. But it felt early given all the stuff that had gone on the day before. And then so like from 8 AM that day until what must have been around 4 PM we're shooting, and you know, this whole time I'm acting in it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the story in general. I'm in public being humiliated. I mean, there was this one shot that you'll see for reasons why where there's a complicated camera move and multiple of the crew are kind of surrounding me, and I'm kind of like acting strangely in public in a strange costume. Naturally people are going to stop and stare. Naturally people are going to look at me like I'm a freak, and it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. You don't want to be kind of regarded that way from the public. And yeah, so as I said before, I get a new appreciation for actors put themselves through and what they sacrifice, even for what can be quite a minorly rewarding result. So yeah, just don't overlook the importance of actors. It's easy to just kind of be like, oh yeah, but like, I feel like to a certain extent, as a film student, your attention often gets drawn to the storytellers, or who you view as the storytellers, and oftentimes that's the directors, the writers, the cinematographers. But in reality, I think I overlook the importance of actors and what they contribute, even though I already know and think about them a lot. But I think this project has definitely elevated that for me. But yeah, so that was cool. And then after that filming experience, the edit was very, very long, very, very, very long. I feel good about the editing process. The problem was after the sound mix just took a while, and we ended up finishing the sound mix. Well, I didn't. Korn, who was the sound mixer, ended up finishing. But I did sit in and help. I did kind of make my contribution. But we ended up finishing at like 3:30, 4, and then we had to export and then upload it and all of this stuff. So it was a very difficult end to the process where I'm not gonna lie, when we showed up to location after lunch on the second day, I was feeling the fatigue. I was slightly irritable, and I was I just don't think because I'd seen the footage, I just didn't really see the reward in what I was doing. And in reality, what I was trying to tell myself at the time is just trust the process, trust the people you're working with, because we're all working together. We all pull together as a team, and in the end, everybody did a really good job, and I try my best to kind of let people know what I thought about them doing their job, because at the end of the day, it's easy for individuals to get overlooked, especially if you're if you're an assisting role, or maybe just a role that doesn't get as much of the spotlight. But the project would be nowhere near as good as it was without everybody who was involved. That's just the reality of it. We succeeded because we had a big crew where everybody did their job well, and that's kind of how it works. That's the whole point of film crews being a crew. But yeah, so I feel like with this podcast, hopefully I've kind of shown some of the inside knowledge, or the inside baseball, what it's like to be part of this process. And I feel like I still haven't fully recovered in terms of fatigue and somewhat. I felt a bit emotionally vacant the last couple of days. Not vacant as in bad, just vacant as in I don't know what to feel. I just feel like I need to fucking recover. But yeah, it's been cool. And without any further ado, what I'm hoping will happen is that it'll translate into an outro, and then the outro will fade into the short film, which is titled Bandages. Man, imagine fluffing that right at the end of the podcast. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the short. And basically, I am going to draw attention to the fact that I am legit using this short film to get people to watch my podcast, and that's cool by me. I have every right to, so that's what I'm going to do. Thanks for watching again though, and I hope you enjoyed the short.